Well, good morning. I'm Jeff Coleman. Welcome to Morning Light. Do not worry. Deborah will join us a little bit later in the show. But today we're tackling one of the hardest topics imaginable, one that tears families and countries apart: forgiveness. Our Morning Light panel will help us navigate where we should begin this conversation. But first, here's a preview of what's coming up a little later in the show. Clubfoot is a common birth deformity affecting some 200,000 newborn children every year. June 3rd is World Clubfoot Day with the goal of raising awareness. Hope Walks is here to share how the international organization is giving hope and healing to children around the world. But here's where we begin. This week, President Donald Trump pardoned a celebrity TV couple, a rapper, a former congressman, an ex-governor, and a union boss. The president's clemency power, of course, is enshrined in the United States Constitution, a power used by presidents, beginning with George Washington, whose very first pardons went to Western Pennsylvania farmers and distillers participating in the Whiskey Rebellion of 1795. But in a great irony of history, Washington personally put down the revolt, but later signed those rebel pardons. Well, presidential pardons always bring a loud chorus of opposition, especially by alleged victims, from the pardon of Civil War Confederates to President Gerald Ford's pardon of President Richard Nixon. The public is always divided on whether justice is fair, and these questions surface in that debate. Did the alleged get what they deserved? Why? When should we forgive? And who deserves a clean slate? But Christian teaching on forgiveness goes far beyond these questions. It was the basis for reconciliation after the American Civil War claimed nearly 700,000 American lives. It was at the heart of the Marshall Plan and the rebuilding of enemy nations after World War II. And in the civil rights movement, love, forgiveness were at the center of nonviolent opposition to segregation. While a vast majority of us say we want more forgiveness in our communities, in our country, in our families, it's a long and difficult path to get there. But this morning, our Morning Light panel is here to share some practical ways to get this conversation started, and I have just the panel to do it. Let me begin, panel, by the way, Joshua Robertson, welcome back from Arizona, traveling the country, doing good things.
Yes.
Amazing.
Glad to be back.
Glad to have you. Yesterday, a pastor went viral, and he went viral because he held up a list. And for just a split second, that pastor showed a list of people that he believed had been doing harm to the church. And he said some things about them. We're not going to show the video. We're not going to add fuel to that fire. He later apologized. But for that very split second, after people took the freeze frame, then it went on Drudge Report, and then it went around the world, millions of people were impacted by that list. Many of us privately keep a list. We may not say it, but we walk into an environment and we begin to assign value to people based on what they have done to us. Josh, how do we as Christians reconcile the existence of lists and our need to erase them, and how do we begin to do that?
Absolutely. I think forgiveness only happens when we strive at it from the perspective of the cross. Like when I look at Christ on the cross saying, Father, his view for horizontal forgiveness started with Father, vertical view.
Okay.
Forgive them, pardon them. That's what forgiveness is to give you a pardon. But I think it's on the last piece. They do not know what they do. Meaning, did they know that they were saying, crucify him? Yes. Did they know that generations to come would be implicated by that decision, by that comment, by those things? No. They did not know the depth of what they were doing and how it would harm other people. And on the basis of that, that's what Jesus used to forgive these people and what he uses to forgive us. I think that's the formula that we have to go about it. A vertical view, Father, forgive them, we have to pardon people, and then we have to take into account they don't know how this is impacting me, the depth of how this is impacting me by what they say, by what they do. They may know the action, they don't know the depth of this impact.
So Leona, let's start there then. What Josh is saying, this idea of them not knowing what they do. There was a story of a little boy who was pushed off a balcony and has had now 10 years in a mall. 10 years of surgeries and continues to rehabilitate after that. The mom says, I forgive him because he didn't know what he was doing. Is that part of where you begin this conversation, especially with people that you work with at a pregnancy care center who can't forgive themselves?
Right, it is. I think when you're looking at forgiveness for someone else, I think being able to release that is definitely something that helps us to go forward in our own lives. But when you're in a space on the opposite side, the person who maybe pushed him off, who now feels terrible inside forever for something that they caused, you do have to find a way to also forgive yourself. And that can be just as complex and even harder to do than to forgive somebody else.
So how do you do that without just saying, no big deal? Acknowledging that sometimes the things that you have done, the hurt you've caused other people, that I've caused other people, is real and significant. How do we not discount that, but at the same time accept forgiveness?
I think, again, it goes back to the cross. You know, it goes back to just letting God pour it into you, you know, the love that he has for you. And forgiveness and love go hand in hand. You know, the Father loves me so much that he has forgiven me. And if he's forgiven me, it's okay for me to forgive me too.
David, you're hearing what they're saying. I talked in the beginning about these civil rights leaders. I've watched all these videos of Holocaust survivors who were brutalized by their Nazi tormentors, but somehow found the way to say, if I don't forgive, I'm going to be in a prison for the rest of my life. Where do you start? In a real practical way, where have you started in your own life?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've toiled over this very question in that exact scenario because and that makes forgiveness something very difficult to deal with on a cultural level, especially with social media, where it becomes kind of cheapened to where people feel like we're asking them to, you know, just let people off the hook, let it go, excuse. Which excusing somebody is very different. Forgiveness, by its very definition, it's interesting. It's not something I do to you. It's actually something that I do within me, where I release myself from anger, resentment, sadness, hurt. The interesting thing is, though, that act that I do within myself, that choice to release my anger and resentment towards you, opens the door to the real beauty of what forgiveness can do, which is reconciliation. You alluded to that.
But people are saying, I can't imagine being in the room, much less sitting in the same church. People leave churches or leave homes, divorce their parents because they can't let go of.
But I think people do need to be invited to the truth that you can forgive without reconciliation, true reconciliation. Because there are some cases, abuse or things like that, where you can forgive somebody, where you are releasing yourself from that.
People are thinking child abuse or murder.
Yes, you can release yourself from that burden through help, but it may be unwise to re-engage relationally with that person. But the example we have, it's the potential and the beauty of reconciliation. That's the gospel, where we are known in our darkness, we are seen, we are forgiven. God changes his disposition towards us, quiets his anger, and then he necessarily reconciles us to him through Christ.
I'll get practical. I'm not getting political, but I use a political example. President Trump has famously said he does not apologize, and I think he doesn't apologize because he doesn't want to expose himself to people in his life who may use that against him. So people might say, look, if I apologize to my friend or my neighbor, you know, they're going to take advantage of that moment, and I, in the end, will be a victim because I apologize. What do you do with that?
I mean, I think just what Dave said is, you know, there's a difference between reconciliation and forgiveness. And I think reconciliation requires honesty and a commitment to not reoffend. So forgiveness is I think it's the highest expression of self-care. Is you forgiving someone, you don't allowing them to live rent-free in your mind without, you know, parting them of whatever has happened. But at the same time, reconciliation is another step. And I think that as a Christian, we are called to, 2 Corinthians says that we're called to the ministry of reconciliation, but it's a two-person act. And so I think reconciliation does require a commitment from the person who is offended to be truthful, own the offense, but then be committed to not reoffending.
So we can start with the forgiveness piece, the act of forgiveness, and then we can look at the reconciliation piece as almost the second set of desperate prayers that we're looking to do. How have you seen this in situations that are really intense, with where abuse has happened, where neglect has happened, where a mom is being left by the spouse or by the partner? Where have you seen this happen? Do you see it happen?
We do. I think, again, just like was discussed, it's that self-acceptance first, that it's okay to forgive and it's okay for me to work on myself and where I am first before I even get to the second part. Once you can do that, I think, there's a barrier when we can't forgive, whether it's ourselves or someone else. It's a barrier between Christ and it's a barrier between other relationships that we have. And so it can affect everything in your life. Even good relationships that you have can become sour because you're holding on to that unforgiveness that you have for someone else. So you have to really just baby step it, one step at a time. And for everybody, it's a different path and a different pace. You can't rush it.
Let me get very practical. We've got people who are watching who I know have been wronged by their doctor. They've been wronged by their pastor, by their priest, by a parent, by a spouse. And they can say, I'll say the words forgiveness, but they still keep all of the residual negativity locked up. And that's affecting their anxiety, their mental health. They can't sleep. What does actual biblical forgiveness look like, and what should it feel like to a person?
Well, it has, in order to forgive or work through the process of forgiveness, you have to have an absolutely clear and accurate view of yourself. I know the darkness that is within me. I know my capacity to sin. And I can tell you that in 30 years of spending time with people behind closed doors in doctor's office.
You carry a lot.
A lot of people have shared their own darkness. Sure. And one of the deepest longings of the heart is to be seen for who you are in your darkness and to be forgiven. And I think once we have that experience of, whether it's through Christ or on a human level, where somebody knows my darkness, and yet they love me. Somebody knows my darkness and how I've violated or sinned against them, and yet they forgive me. There's no greater love expressed than to see someone's darkness, to love them, and forgive them. We see that in parent-child relationships all the time, in marriage relationships and friendship. So I think
once you reach the point where somebody knows everything about you and they still respond in love.
Yeah, and there's no hope of me forgiving you if I have not been willing to examine the depth of my own capacity to hurt.
Yeah, beautiful. I'm going to give you the last word here, 20 seconds, just for someone who is thinking, there's no way I can do it. Where do you start? What are the words that you should be praying aloud from wherever you're at today?
I think, first and foremost, the ground is level at the foot of the cross. You're no better than anyone. You're no worse than anyone. Right? We're all at the foot of the cross in need of Christ's forgiveness. So I think it starts with that vertical relationship with the Lord.
Getting that foundation right.
Yes, right. Receiving his forgiveness and realizing the ground is level at the foot of the cross. I'm not better than, I'm not worse than. So I'm in need just like everybody else.
That'll be the final word today, and it's a great place to start the weekend for a lot of people who are maybe facing some difficult encounters this weekend. So thank you all very, very much. Well, every child deserves a chance to walk. Clubfoot is treatable, but many families in low-income countries just can't access the treatment their child needs. Hope Walks is here to share details about World Clubfoot Day. You're watching Morning Light right here on Lighthouse TV.
Every 3 minutes, a child is born with Clubfoot. Every boy and girl deserves the chance to run and play. Hope Walks is an international organization that provides treatment for children born with Clubfoot. This is more than just a physical correction of their feet. Hope Walks also shares the love of Christ with families. Joining me is the president, Scott Reichenbach, who is here to share about World Clubfoot Day. Thank you for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And World Clubfoot Day is Tuesday, June 3rd. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so World Clubfoot Day is a significant event for us. It provides an opportunity for our program to get on shows like this, to talk about this situation called Clubfoot, where kids are born, where their feet are twisted inward and downward. Happens to about 200,000 kids every year, and without early treatment, they face a lifetime of disability. So they created World Clubfoot Day to honor Dr. Ponsetti, who developed the Ponsetti method, which is the method we use to correct clubfoot.
Remind us again about Hope Walks.
Yeah, so Hope Walks is, as you mentioned, a Christian organization. We work in 14 countries around the world. We work with the ministries of health and local hospitals to teach and train local healthcare providers how to care for clubfoot. Treatment of clubfoot is just simple casts. Weekly casts after the baby's born will correct those feet into straight, beautiful little feet so that the kids can walk and run and play. It's life-changing.
And in the United States, it's something that's done very easily, but in third world countries, it is not. Talk to us about the struggles.
Yeah, so in the developing world, and even here in the U.S., right, when you have a baby and there's something wrong, moms often ask themselves the question, like, what did I do? Did I eat something wrong? What, you know, and so in Africa, where we work, there's a lot of cultural challenges and views around that. Like, I think of little Ryan, who we just treated in Kenya. His mom, they blamed, right? Like, what did she do? Was she cursed? Did she do something wrong? Did she sin that caused her child to be born with this clubfoot? And so then our team gets to walk alongside these moms and just encourage them, educate the families that we don't know what causes clubfoot, but clubfoot can be treated.
And how is it treated? Show us that. You brought an example.
Yeah, well, and it is. It's just weekly casts that straighten those feet. Week after week, we just put a cast on, correct those feet, and so they're in correct position. And then once they're corrected, then they wear a brace like this at night and nap time. So it's just sort of like your retainer after your braces. So once the feet are corrected, they're put in this, they sleep in this, and then during the day wear their normal shoes and walk and run and play.
And in a matter of time, they are just walking and running and playing just like anyone else.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, that's the thing. If we get these kids early, like here in the U.S., kids are treated within the first 2 weeks of life. They start with those casts. You know, for a lot of our families, there's a lot, as you mentioned, some shame and stigma around it, and they're hidden for a long time because families are afraid to share it with their husbands, even with their families, with their communities, because they'll be blamed and ostracized.
Tell us about some of the transformations, the success stories.
Yeah, there's so many. I mean, we'll treat over 18,000 kids this year.
My goodness.
And so, yeah, we just got an amazing story in Burkina Faso of this little girl as she was much older. So the family faced that social stigma. They sacrificed all sorts of animals, saw the traditional healers. And Asitu was even to the age where she could talk, and she would tell her mom, like, one day I'm going to grow up to be able to take care of my own feet. And so thankfully, they had a cousin who went to nursing school, learned about Clubfoot, learned about the Hope Walks Clinic, got this little girl into treatment. And she's a beautiful, I think she's like 6 or 7 now. We just found her again because of the strife in that area. We had lost her for a little bit, but she just recently came back. A beautiful little girl, walking, running, playing, going to school. You would never know that she was born with clubfoot.
Oh my goodness. So certainly changed her life.
It changes her life, but it changes the family's lives, right? Like another story in Honduras, right? Where they had an uncle who was born, who was 55, who had never been treated with clubfoot. And so they had seen him live this life of disability, the shame, the exclusion that comes with it. And then when they had their own child, that was the first thing they thought of, that he was destined to be a lame man for life. And so found the Hope Walks Clinic. He's now 2.5, 3 years old, making little car noises, running, playing like a normal little kid should. So.
Oh my goodness. And I'm sure in many of these cases, people are angry with God.
Oh, it's an amazing opportunity to share the gospel, right? Like here, we live out John 9. Why was this man born blind? Or who sinned that this man was born blind? And it's so that God can be glorified. And so each one of our clinics, we have what we call a parent advisor, a local representative from the church to walk alongside these families, to journey with them, share the gospel with them. And it's not a one and done, it's weekly. We get to sprinkle the gospel throughout this and see lives change physically and spiritually.
I love that, sprinkle the gospel. Scott, thank you so much for being with us and sharing this with us this morning.
It's awesome, thank you.
For more information about Hope Walks and how you can make a difference, visit hopewalks.org. Coming up next on Morning Light, students from Messiah University travel to Kenya to support Hope Walks. We will find out more about their trip right after the break. We're back in 1 minute. Welcome back. As we just heard, Hope Walks is a Christian nonprofit that provides clubfoot treatment to kids in 14 countries in Latin America and Africa. Volunteers are essential to Hope Walks. Students at Messiah University are not only volunteers, but they are also helping to develop the latest treatment options for clubfoot. Joining me is Matt Wilkins, Director of the Collaboratory for Strategic Partnerships and Applied Research at Messiah University. Matt, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
So Messiah University students spent 10 days in Kenya to work with Hope Walks and also to do some testing. Talk to us about it.
Absolutely. So our team just spent the last week and a half. They just got back on Wednesday in Kajabe in connection with Hope Walks, but also with Cure International in Kenya to test two different kinds of clubfoot braces to try and see which one is going to work best for the children in the area.
And so talk to us about the braces. You brought them with you today.
Absolutely. So this is commonly called the Steenbeek brace, and it's the most common brace for clubfoot. And so what happens is these children typically before the age of 2 will have a surgery to try and correct clubfoot. They go into a casting process, and when they come out of that, they go into these braces. And so this you can see is prohibitive. It doesn't allow the children to move much. But Gerald Cunningham up in Maine actually created this. This is the Cunningham clubfoot brace that also is used for after that bracing process or after that casting process. And so this is what we were testing. So we were comparing the forces that are put on the foot by these two braces.
So you're doing some testing there. Any results or early results?
I wish I could share with you. The team just got back, like I said, on Wednesday, so they still have to dive into all of that data. But maybe we'll have to come back on in the fall and let you know what we found. But very positive. We tested 30 children, so they have a lot of really good samples to pour through here.
So talk about the struggles that they saw there, both spiritually and physically.
Absolutely. So you can imagine, especially in Africa, but all over the world, children that are born with a disability are often looked down upon or shunned. Sometimes it breaks up families. And so the ability to give these children hope, to give them the ability to walk, it just brings so much life. So it's a struggle. It's a struggle for those families. It's a struggle to keep, can you imagine trying to keep a 2-year-old with their legs immobile. And so the idea is we just want to bring flexibility, mobility, and hope to these families.
And as far as spiritually, how did the students help them?
Well, and that's the beauty of Hope Walks. Right? Everything is holistic. And so this isn't just an opportunity for us to pour into the families physically, but also spiritually. And so everything that we do has a Christ-centered component to it. It's an opportunity to pour into the gospel with these families and to point them to Jesus at the same time. We're pointing them to physical healing.
And this is a real missions trip for the students, I should say.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we offer this to all of our students at Messiah, but it's an opportunity for them to see that their vocation and their faith are not two separate things. It's one thing. It's an opportunity to show them that they can use the gifts that God has given them to pour into others globally. And it really stretches them to look at the world in a different way, to see God's big kingdom. It's just an incredible opportunity for them.
Yeah, I really like that, stretches them. I know they just got back from their trip, but how have you seen growth for them, both physically and spiritually?
It's every year we send teams out, and every year the students come back changed. They're invigorated by what they do, both vocationally as a student, but also their spiritual growth. They become leaders in the classroom, and in our chapel series, it just ignites that passion in them for living out their faith. I think too often we kind of get siloed into things in our Christian faith, but this is an opportunity to see faith as something much bigger.
Yeah, and what a wonderful opportunity for them to be able to go to Kenya and see this firsthand and really experience it. And as you said, spread the gospel.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for being with us, Matt. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
To find out more about Hope Walks or how you can get involved with their program, visit hopewalks.org. Stay with us. We're back right after the break. Welcome Welcome back. Coming up Monday on Morning Light, going once, going twice, sold. We introduced you to Black Rock Christian Camp and Retreat Center last month. We will tell you about their upcoming fundraiser, where you can buy tasty treats and enjoy your favorite summer camp activities. And that's a look at what's coming up Monday on Morning Light. Now, Jeff, your closing thoughts, and have a wonderful weekend.
You have a wonderful weekend. Thank you, Deborah. Well, he was 28,000 feet above the earth, sucked right up into the clouds over northwest China. A mysterious vortex sweeping 55-year-old Chinese paraglider Peng Yuang into deadly sub-zero temperatures. Except he survived. His 72-minute terrifying journey filmed and shared with millions. The reality, though, is that Peng was never lost. We never really are. In the 139th Psalm, King David prays, "Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I ascend into heaven, you're there." And then he pens these words, "Even there your right hand shall lead me, and your right hand shall hold me." This weekend, whether you're hiking the Appalachian Trail, stuck in a hospital room, or paragliding above a Chinese mountain range, God knows you, He knows your name, and He will always answer your cry for help. For Deborah and the entire Morning Light team, I'm Jeff Coleman. Thanks for watching. Check on your neighbor. We'll see you again Monday morning.